This question is for Minister Dunn. I will not comment on your opening statement, which I find misleading and offensive as a former chief and an Indigenous person. But I will ask you this. This bill would only impose obligations on the federal government. However, the rights in the UN Declaration are not new, but rather based on existing international human rights instruments, which states have an obligation to honor to remain in good international standing. That means that our federal and provincial governments cannot simply pick and choose when to respect them on their own political agendas. The application of UNDRIP in Canadian law is already legal and political reality being generated by federal and provincial legislatures and courts. Are these facts that your government disputes?
Thank you for the question. I appreciate it, and there is no intent to cause, I guess, any sort of hurt feelings with respect to my opening statements. Our concern specifically is to make sure that whatever we commit to as a province that we can actually do. So I think currently the concern that we have with respect to the legislation or the proposed legislation is it is very vague. It is very diluted. It doesn't actually explicitly state what those additional rights are. And we're concerned about what we commit to. So if we commit to doing something with respect to this legislation, we don't want to be in a situation where we go back and say, look, we're very sorry, we weren't able to actually do this. We need the appropriate time to sit down to make sure that we understand the provisions of the legislation, make sure that we understand across government how we can actually utilize this legislation to benefit the province as well as First Nations, obviously. And also, whatever we commit to, we want to make sure that we're actually able to achieve it. So that is our concern. Thank you.
Supplementary Chair, if I have time.
Yes, you do.
Minister, what is the nature of your relationship with the First Nations in New Brunswick in regard to this? Have you had ongoing discussions, meaningful discussions?
Thank you again for the question. I understand from my staff that they've actually had very minimal meetings with respect to this particular issue. I believe there was one in September and October, maybe 2 or 3 meetings, very, very little engagement. There was actually a discussion with respect to the assurance to engage with First Nations. We're not completely sure how much engagement has occurred on that level as well. So our concern is we're going through a process in the province of New Brunswick currently, engaging with First Nations, making sure that we understand what their issues are, what their concerns are. And I mean, that's the road that we're going down. So we want to make sure that if there's any legislation that's going to be passed that's going to affect the province of New Brunswick, that there's full engagement with First Nations, and also that the province is at the table. So we can make commitments and we can make them wholeheartedly knowing that we can actually do them.
Thank you.